My name is George Ilich, and I am 49. I was born in New Jersey in 1960, and my family are Serbian, both sides from Belgrade. Some industrialists, some quasi-aristocrats, because our Serbian history goes back far, but counts and things disappear in the 16th century. I'm not married. I don't have children. I'm sitting here on a chair waiting to get back my family property that was taken away from my family in 1946. My grandfather was in Dachau concentration camp. Though he was not Jewish, he was condemned to be an enemy of the state by Tito, and all his property was taken away. So for 68 years we've been doing the caravanserai, moving around all over Europe, Paris, New York, Australia. I'm an artist working on restitution, which means the process of recovering stolen property. The Orthodox religion being Eastern already, Byzantine and so on and so forth, already puts us at a socially acceptable disadvantage. So the Serbs, particularly the ones who left after 1945, have a problem. My brother went to Japan and traveled Tokyo, Osaka, and had a lovely time. He stayed with people when he was traveling who would take him in. And what he liked particularly, I remember in Tokyo, he told me he slept in one of these hotels that look like you're in a coffin or a grave, because apparently the Japanese take alcohol less easily, and that you can sleep in these coffins for a certain amount of money and go back to work in the morning instead of take the ride all the way to wherever your family would be living. So he absolutely loved it, and he brought me back some of the little Japanese shoes that I still wear today with the sort of white thing. He brought me 50 of those, and they keep your feet clean and you can walk around comfortably. So for Japan for me is about a certain kind of simple, clean lifestyle, and I look for it whenever I go to restaurants throughout the world. I look for the cleanliness of the Japanese. I'd like to have children. I'd like to be able to get back to my art and say goodbye to this question of restitution, i.e. the return of stolen property by Tito. I would like to rest, and I would like to get back to my vocation, which is artistic, writing, painting, sculpture. I would call it Southern Mediterranean cultural attitude towards life did exist in Serbia. Even I think during communism it was much easier for most Serbs then, particularly because the Americans were paying the bill. Apparently there has been some gold found in Switzerland. It may be a rumor of the traces and the remains of the money that Tito received from the Americans, which would be a fabulous thing. Yugoslavia, Serbia, up until 1985 was a place that you could live well because the West was paying. I thought maybe people like to see me looking like a Japanese man. Is it easier living in Belgrade than in Paris? I would say that on the whole, it's much, much difficult here. More difficult here. People earn on the average 350 euros a month. In Paris, the minimum wage is 1,300–400 euros. That's a big difference. Food here costs the same as it does in Europe, if not more. In the markets, the old ladies and the people who grow food on their land, who bring it into the Belgrade, have to charge a lot of money for the food, and so that's why food is so expensive in Belgrade. There is a phenomenon though in Belgrade that even during communist time, this is how Tito kept the people down. Everyone had just enough money to have a vikendica, and a vikendica is where you go for the weekend. So you might have a salary of 350 euros, but you also have a little garden patch in your weekend house. And that, in my opinion, was paid for by the West. So life on the whole, for the 350 euro, the average people live on is about 600-700 euros a month, because they also probably have an unpaid house or flat they don't have to pay for in Belgrade or in whatever city they live in. For me, life here is fascinating. I love the hardness, the grittiness of the Balkans. I love Istanbul. I love everything that is somehow still disorganized and people manage to find their way through and weave their way through. I'm always shocked when I go to Europe and see the sterility and cleanliness of airports, or the silver bicycle ride that is free in Paris and you drop it off at exactly one place and off at another. I'm shocked that the Café Flore, where the great intellectuals used to go and smoke cigarette after cigarette and drink and have this sort of passionate love affair with the sort of creative aspect of life, which unfortunately in most cases is detrimental to your health, has disappeared from the Café Flore. There is no smoking in Café Flore. But here in Belgrade you still have some of this 1930s wildcat atmosphere. And I hope that there's something that we can come up with in between never smoking a cigarette in public and having the right to. I'm dying to go to Japan. I recommend highly that if they're not dying to come here through this little show, we can give them some desire to come to Serbia and former Yugoslavia. Japan, from what I understood, had a huge amount of money, and I was also amazed at one point. Suddenly, Japan, the apotheosis of financial success, also perhaps supported in the beginning by America, USA, was suddenly having problems. I hope that Japan holds on to its strong national tradition and everything to do with, where I associate to this sort of traditional cleanliness and respect for space and design, no matter how small the space. If Japan can keep on excreting this sort of pattern throughout the world, I think that there's hope for culture and people to live well, because it's not how much money you have, it's not where you live or what it is, it's how you manage your environment. And the Japanese have been the best managers. I would love to meet some Japanese people. I'd love to have some sushi tonight with some Japanese people.